Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of I've Been Playing. I'm shaking the camera, I'm sorry, but this week, we are talking about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So just before we get properly started in here, I have finished the game. I finished the story of the game in any case. None of the footage I have is from beyond the first couple of hours of the game, maybe not even the first hour, I don't remember exactly, but it's nothing later on, and it shouldn't be anything that spoils anything that I can remember. I'll try to do my best to not spoil anything, but I mean, it has been out for a little while now, so I suppose it doesn't matter as much, but just in case, for context, I'm gonna try not to spoil things if I can avoid it. This is technically the second game of the series, the first one being Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, of course, and this one takes place 5 years after that game. There is an in-game recap of what happened in that one, which is nice because I forget stories of games even if I really enjoy them within a month because there's too much going on and I forget things, so it's nice when they have a recap. I still don't fully remember what happened, but it is there, so you get kind of an update on what happened in the first game. So I don't think you would be playing this one if you didn't play the first one, but also it might not be necessary. And without getting into anything specific yet, I think I prefer this one to the first one, so if you fall off of the first one, or fell off of the first one, appropriately, because it's Fallen Order, I'm hilarious, then you might find this one to be more to your tastes, as long as it works, and we'll get into that as well. The essential thing of this series is, obviously you're a Jedi, obviously you survived something, that should be pretty obvious, but it takes place after Order 66, which is where all of the, quote-unquote, all of the Jedis were killed, and so in the first game you're in hiding, and obviously that doesn't last because you wouldn't have a game if you were just puttering around doing nothing. So, I mean, it picks up from there where Cal Kestis is the main character, and he's continuing to fight as a resistance fighter. At the beginning, you had a bunch of friends in the first game, and they're not there. I don't know if it's a spoiler to say you meet up with them again, but it's too late, I've said it now, so they do appear again. But you also meet some new people. The main one is, very early on in the game, you meet someone called Kobo, who is, I think, essentially a mercenary, and they're both working together to steal some data and, like, just, you know, mess with people. And that's where you start the game, and then from there you go to Kobo. So Kobo is the hub world, essentially. You have the saloon there, which is kind of your base, and it improves as you meet people and as you progress the story and things like that. Bits of it open up. There's a garden on the roof, there's a room down in the basement, which is Cal's room, there's other bits and pieces, there's a second floor, that more and more people show up, there's a room where you do some sort of minigame that I did not bother with because I don't have time for that. Alright, I'm renting this game, and I'm more than happy to buy it later and finish it and see what it's all about, but I am busy, and I need to plow through the plot as quickly as possible sometimes. Which sounds like I'm insulting the story of this game. I'm not, I just am quite busy this month, so I had to get through it. This is also partly why I put it on story mode. The one thing I found with this game, not as badly as with the first, but similarly, I suppose, is that I'm really bad at the combat. There are a lot of different stances you can choose from in this one, which is nice. You can switch things up. You have the dual wield, you have the single blade, you have the double-sided blade, I don't remember what that was called, you know, the Darth Maul. And you also get, in my opinion, the objectively best one, the single lightsaber and the blaster. That's the one I used mostly, that's the one I upgraded fully, or almost fully, I can't remember, I think fully. You do have combat challenges, you'll run across these, they're kind of a collectible sort of thing, or just a bonus combat arena. Which will kind of test your skills with different stances, although I never really understood that because I beat them no matter what. There was like a timer at the top of the screen, and it never seemed to matter. I always beat them anyway, so unless there's one of the secret achievements is to do them all within a certain time or something, maybe that's the only reason I can see for there being a timer up there, because I didn't have any issue with them and I completed the 3 or 4 I found, I don't remember. It certainly wasn't all of them, but I did every one I did find, and it didn't seem to matter. And I feel like this review is all over the place, even more than usual. I'm trying, I promise. Let's go back to the story. I'm not going to explain any more about the story, because there's only so far I can get into after you arrive at Kobo. Something happens when you get there, you're going towards an array at some point, and something happens in there which is central to the plot, so I don't really know that I want to elaborate on it any, and certainly not beyond that, because that's kind of the whole point of the game. But there is something on Kobo you're trying to find. I was gonna say something else, but I think that actually happens when you get to the point that I don't want to spoil, so never mind. Let's just say you find something on Kobo that leads you to have to track something else down because there's a secret location that you want to find. So I really enjoyed the story, despite the fact that I was not rushing through it exactly, but was playing it with more specific purpose, shall we say, than usual. I think it was really well done. I have kind of fallen off of Star Wars lately just because it's becoming one of those big franchises where I have problems with massive franchises because I feel like I have to know and understand and consume everything, and it just stresses me out when there's so much stuff. So I haven't watched The Mandalorian still, I haven't watched the other one, Andor, or Boba Fett. I haven't watched any of that. I do want to, it's just intimidating. So it's nice to get back into Star Wars, because I do really like Star Wars, and I think it was really good. The gameplay probably depends on how well you got along with the first one, but I do think it is improved. I do think it's a little easier, although I was having issues with it again. I don't know if that's because I was trying to mainline the story, or if I'm just terrible at it. I mean, I did forget to parry a lot, so that's on me. That's 100% on me, but I don't know in general whether that's me or that's the game's difficulty or how much of it is what. The collectibles too, the best thing is you can customize Cal's outfit. I didn't really find one I liked until late in the game because I got this really cool looking jacket. The rest of the outfits I put together, I kind of liked them on the customization screen, and then I got into the game and I didn't like how they looked, but I didn't get anything better, so I just had to put up with it. But it's fun to customize that. You can customize BD, your little cute little robot, so of course I made him purple because I like purple, if you hadn't noticed. And of course you can customize your lightsaber as well, and your blaster eventually. You'll get those parts. So I was technically trying to search just for the story, but I am also one of those people who will, without fail, go the wrong direction when I'm looking at a map or when I can tell which direction the game wants me to go. I'm like, no, I'm going the other way. There's gotta be something over there. So even if I'm trying to just play the story, I have a habit of doing that, so I did collect as much as I could along the way, and it was a lot of fun to do. You get a lot of abilities. One thing that I didn't like too much is there's just so much stringing together of abilities eventually that I found it really hard, and I feel like sometimes when I fell it was my fault, and a lot of times when I fell it was not my fault because I was definitely hitting the button and the game was like no, or I held it the wrong way, or I accidentally let go, or something, and it just didn't work, and I fell to my, well, not my death, my slightly lowered health. And it was a pain in the ass, and it happened a lot. I mean, there were definitely sometimes it was my fault, but I feel like there were a lot more where it wasn't, or just something happened, or again, I accidentally tapped the button twice, which I don't know if that's on me or the game, but you know, if I hold a button to grab onto something and then accidentally let go and then do it again, obviously I want to re-grip the thing I was gripping, but the game said, nope, sorry, you're dying. That's a little annoying. It was a little bit like how Doom Eternal had all that platforming stuff that you had to string together sometimes, and it wasn't terrible, but I didn't like it either, you know what I mean? Now this game, similarly to how I talked about Cyberpunk last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't remember at this point, has had several issues with it. I think I waited long enough that I didn't really have very many problems. I did have a patch that was, I think, bigger than the game itself was, which was a pain in the ass because I just wanted to play it, and I was sitting here waiting for this 70 gig patch, 70 gigabyte patch to install on my hard drive, and I was like, excuse you? What the hell? That was a pain, but the game functioned pretty well. I did have one door that always seemed to, it was doing weird shit every time I was there. Like, just the texture or something was going crazy. I don't know what was going on with that. I didn't have too many issues, though there were a couple of times bodies freaked out, textures would pop in, so that might be from the mode I was playing on, because I was probably playing on performance. But overall, I didn't have that many issues with it. There was a little bit of slowdown occasionally in the cutscenes, specifically, that's where I mostly noticed it, especially when they started, it would kind of hiccup a little bit. And then weirdly, the developer logos on the startup every time were just like, kind of stutter, and I'm like, how is this? The game hasn't even started yet. What is going on? But that was it. I didn't have any major issues, no crashes, no major game-breaking bugs. Although, actually, now that I say that, there were a couple of times where something didn't trigger, and I had to restart an area because I had killed all of the people there except one, and it wouldn't let me kill the last person, and the last stormtrooper or whatever it was, needed to be killed to trigger whatever happened next, and I couldn't kill them, I couldn't lock onto them, I couldn't hit them, I couldn't target them, couldn't do anything, couldn't go back, couldn't go forward. So I think there were 2 times I remember that happening specifically. I don't think it happened more than that. And it wasn't the biggest problem. It was annoying, but it never really seemed to set me too far back. Like, I didn't have to replay too much. So it was fine. I don't know if I've made any sense in this rambling, because I am just rambling. Because that's what I do here. That's what I do in these. I say things as I remember them, and they're either coherent or they're not. I'm sorry. In any case, hopefully you can tell that I enjoyed myself with the game. I think it was tougher in some ways than it should have been, although that may have been how I was playing specifically, in that I wasn't trying to farm enemies or upgrade points, or I was just kind of plowing through the main story and upgrading as I could, which means that I was probably slightly under level for certain things, or doing things in a way the game didn't necessarily mean for me to do, but I got through it, mainly because I was playing on story mode, but ignore that. And I enjoyed it. I think it depends on what system you're going to play it on, whether I recommend this, because I've heard things, and it seems to vary, like they tend to do these days, wildly across systems, whether it works properly or at all or well or not, so I don't know which one's best to play it on. I can say that, again, this one I was playing on my Xbox Series X, and like I said, other than the things I mentioned, there didn't seem to be any major issues with it. They were manageable. And, I mean, it's Star Wars. You know whether you like Star Wars or not, so you know, if you like Star Wars, you're gonna like this, probably. Probably. In any case, after all that, that was my experience overall with Jedi Survivor. Did you enjoy it? Are you going to play it? All that kind of stuff. Whatever you want to let me know about your experiences with, your experiences with the game. Put them in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree. If you've had horrible problems with them on other systems, let me and possibly other people know as well, so they know which systems to avoid, maybe, because like I said, I don't know which ones are worse. I just have heard horror stories, like with basically every game that comes out nowadays, about varying quality. So, yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.